Welcome to a football show Thursday edition on a Friday. That is Nick Suss. I am Braden Gall. I just see your beautiful shining face, Nick, and I just assume it's 9 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm here. How are you?
I'm great. We got some college football last night. Already playoff picture already thrown into chaos by South Florida. It's great. It's great. Obviously, we are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, the number one liquor store in the city. And I feel safe saying that, unlike any college football team this year.
Yeah.
I feel safe saying that because they've won the award 4 years in a row. And right now we still have no idea who's going to be great in college football or not. We'll find out this weekend, I guess.
Yeah. When we get to the college football portion of this show, you're going to have to catch me up on what happened last night because I spent the night playing Galaga for an hour at Updown and then seeing a Weezer tribute band. So it was a very nerdy night for me. I was not watching football. So please catch me up on what I missed.
What was the no free shouts to any of these places? What I do like the Weezer idea though. What was the tourist to local breakdown at that particular arcade you were at?
It wasn't super full on a Thursday night. Okay. So I couldn't tell. I wasn't going around asking people, and your zip code, please.
Well, normally you can see the.
Please give me the zip code.
Well, no, normally maybe you haven't lived here long enough, but normally you can see the outfit and you can recognize the costume. That they're not bedazzled jeans. Not from here.
I did not see very large cowboy boots on anybody.
All right, or hats or whatever. Good morning, Eddie. Good morning, Austin. If you want to get into the comment section, please do so. We would love to take your questions. A lot of rapid fire Titans topics today. L'Jarius Sneed, I have some thoughts about what we saw on the practice field. And by the way, that's the last time we will ever see the Tennessee Titans practice this season. That was it on Thursday yesterday, which is why we're on Friday. We were both out there at practice. L'Jarius Sneed, though, looked good. So we'll talk about that. What does it mean? Is this as healthy as the Titans could ask for to be at this stage of the season going into week one practice? Roster churn, the bottom of the roster, sort of what do some of the moves tell us about where this roster is and what their plans are moving forward? There's one overarching point about the offense that I want to drive home. I think everybody knows it, but I want to drive it home today. And then I think some interesting personnel, let's say formations and decisions coming on the defense. We shall see. And I'm going to do this, Nick. I can't believe I'm going to do this. I am going to be positive about this team and its outlook on the show today.
Okay.
I'm just pointing that out because everybody tells me I'm like negative all the time. It must be from working with the guy I host the show with on Monday, but who knows? We'll see.
You'd think that working with somebody who's negative would make you look positive by proxy.
I would assume.
So maybe that means I'm the one who's too positive if it's making you look negative.
Maybe. I do think you are the most and I think you're kind of like me in that, and this is what fans don't always understand about being in the media. Like, I don't, and I think PK has actually been fighting this battle for a long time, which is like diehard fans of the Titans don't understand that, like, we don't root for the team. Like, I don't have an emotional attachment to the team. I want to see my city do well because I'm from here now that I've been here 30 years. I want to see them do really well. I think there's really good people in that organization that I root for to see them do well. But at the end of the day, like, if they lose or win a football game on Sunday, it has no impact on my life whatsoever. And I think sometimes people are lost in that. And I think what you do really well is you see all the things that exist around all of those things and around the team, and you want to tell those stories, which I think is what makes a great reporter. But it's not because you are rooting for or against the team. You're just there.
There is context to everything, and unfortunately, I am burdened with sight of it.
You do love context, man. All right, so good to see all you guys. Please jump into the comments if you have any questions today, and then we'll do some SEC stuff at the end to wrap up this bad boy. Shotgun Willie's Barbecue as well, of course. Can't forget them. They are open Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Best brisket in the city. Also not an opinion. That is also a statement of fact that they won the award for best brisket in the city. You want 30 seconds from me on the Packers? Is that what you want? This is the problem though. I do media. So my text thread, my family text, this is a perfect example of all this. Not to go off topic here, but I am curious if you think the Titans should have traded 2 first-round picks and Jeffrey Simmons for Micah Parsons. But the text thread, my family group thread with the Packers fans, there's about it's like my cousin and my uncle and my dad and my brother. It's like 6 of us. I'm the only one who's like, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a great move or not. I don't know. These types of moves normally don't work out. I don't think the team is as good as it was when they went and got Reggie White and tried to go win a Super Bowl. Like I don't. And everyone's like, no, repeat of '97. It's very like feels like '98 in my family group. You know.
I wrote about this. If you guys subscribe to my newsletter, you'll see this in 54 minutes or whenever it comes out. But like, my main takeaway from the Micah Parsons trade wasn't, oh, should the Titans have done this? It was more, how long do the Titans have to do what they're doing now? How much austerity is required before they can start doing this? Because clearly, if you're being the Packers way, the Packers just did this. But the Packers have been processing through the Packers way for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, at what point in the Packers way can the Titans do the Packers way? It's like, you bring up 97, 96,
Packers,
97. Yeah,
they're perpetually one player away from a Super Bowl and yet never get there. At least,
and I did write that. That is part of this. Is that when are the Titans going to be one player away? How many players away are they from being one player away? How many years does it take to acquire the number of players needed to be one player away? Like, that's what sparks here. Because if the Titans traded 2 first-round picks and Jeffrey Simmons for Micah Parsons, they would have gotten worse. They would have gotten worse, and it would have been very bad.
Right.
But the Packers can trade 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark and get better. And that is...
Well, in the certainly in the short term, no question about that.
Yeah.
It's when Amy Adams Strunk decides to sell the team to 400,000 fans. That's when this will work.
Braden is saying he is personally paying the $188 million that Micah Parsons is getting.
Well, I don't know how many shares of Green Bay Packers stock are out there. I actually don't. It's probably the number of seats that are in the stadium, if I'm honest about it. But if you divide the 188 million by, whatever, a couple 100,000 shareholders, that's the number we're paying. No, look, I generally speaking, so this is my personal takeaway, which is just that Jerry Jones, the only person, like, Jerry Jones likes attention more than he likes winning. That's the only thing he likes more than winning is attention. And he dominates the attention world. He knows how to do it better than anybody else in this league. And I give him all the credit in the world for dragging this thing out and then not paying $188 million and getting a starting defensive tackle and adding 2 first-round picks. Are they going to win anything this year without Micah Parsons? I don't know. But a guy who's getting MRIs on his back, he's a great player, and if he's healthy, the Packers are way better. But at the end of the day, it almost never works to do this kind of thing in the NFL. It almost never does. And the Reggie White comparisons are hilarious to me because he was a free agent who they didn't trade anything for. He was the greatest pass rusher of all time and is a totally different player than Micah Parsons. But that's neither here nor there.
It's very funny, and we can talk about the Titans after this, but I was looking up Reggie White stuff yesterday when the trade was happening. And looking at what his physique was in the mid-90s compared to Micah now, if you have those guys side by side, and you wonder, like, hey, what if Reggie White had modern technology? What if he could have done this stuff, Micah? Would he have been better, or was just like preacher bod all he needed to be the best pass rusher of his generation?
Yeah, he was just dad bod the whole time.
Yeah.
No, what's fascinating is that I think defense is actually harder now. Which is an interesting. Like, a lot of times you go, no, the game evolves, it gets faster, it gets bigger, it gets stronger, it gets tougher, or it gets easier or something like that. Like, there's a lot of. I think it's harder now.
Oh, have I ever told you my most millennial take? The thing that I yell at boomers for and then get punched in the face. I bring up this fight 3 times a year. You cannot convince me as a 31-year-old that Lawrence Taylor was better than Von Miller. I think they are equals. I just think Lawrence Taylor played in a time where there was one Lawrence Taylor, and now there's like 15 of them. There's just a lot of dudes who are shaped like that and fast like that and athletic like that, and he stood out as the only one in an era where it was easier to get to the quarterback.
We just didn't have those guys in 1984 or whatever it was, 1985.
And
so I don't necessarily disagree with you.
I get throat punched a lot for talking about that with people around my dad's age.
Really? Like, they actually physically attack you?
Oh, no. There's only one time I've ever been physically attacked for a football take. And
it was during a pickup basketball game.
No, it was a take about the Deshaun Watson versus Lamar Jackson Heisman year. But
Okay.
that's a story for a different day.
All right. Okay. We got stuff to do here. All right. So here's let's get to the Titans.
Yeah, let's do it.
I do appreciate all you guys in the comments for humoring me there. It is a huge piece of news. I mean, it is, and so it does. You know, whatever it is, $47 million a year, the highest paid non-quarterback of all time, and that's like that was the text that shut up everybody on the thread. They're like, oh no, it was a great deal, it was totally worth it, and I'm just like, and then one guy's like, no, it's over, we overpaid, and I just go, like, how could so you're saying Micah Parsons is the greatest non-quarterback football player in NFL history? And I realize inflation and cost of doing business has changed, and I get all of that, but that is the thing that everyone's like, well, when you put it that way. So, all right. Let's have a good time here. This is the Randy Johnson argument of pitchers. Eddie, the commenters are doing great. You guys are moving too fast for me here. Randy did kill a bird, though. That's true. He did. Also, great photographer, Randy Johnson. Fascinating. Okay. L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah.
Let's start there. You are obsessed with context.
Sure.
And the thing that I try to do most at practice is pick up on the things that like no one's saying, but like just the little tiny body movements and mannerisms of a player. And he looked light. He looked refreshed. He looked quick. He looked engaged. He looked happy to be on a practice field. I'm not saying he's fully healthy or is going to be a great player, but everything I saw contextually around him being on the practice field. And there was one play, I think you were standing next to me, where he trailed Calvin Ridley. And it was maybe me and Ben Arthur, actually. He was trailing Calvin Ridley from the opposite side of the field on a drag route. Calvin Ridley just dropped a really easy pass right in his hands. But he just kept running like right at me and Ben. It was not about me or Ben, but it was just sort of like he's just kind of feeling himself, right? Like, and he kind of like just slowly turns and runs back to the thing. And he wanted to go out at team drills early when he was like, no. Coach was like, no, we're doing one-on-ones over here. Like just looked excited to be out there. He looked light. He looked refreshed. And if he is fully healthy and can play, let's say 14 games or even 13 games for this team with the defensive line that this unit could have as healthy. And you and I've talked about this. If the press man corners work and the defensive line works, the defense will be significantly improved. Those are big ifs, but that is the way that this team could be. I think it's the fastest way for this team to be better in 2025.
Yeah, not to spoil anything, but there's a story that I've written that'll come out next week where I talk to some folks in the Titans front office about what does a perfect Titans team actually look like, step-by-step guide of what they're trying to acquire, what kind of players, what process and order they're trying to go. And the first two qualifiers on defense that one executive gave me were a defensive front that can win independent of scheme and press man corners who can affect play regardless of the opponent, a la the 2015 Broncos. Like, that is kind of the standard they're trying to set. They don't have the pass rushers right now. We know that. But if you can affect the rush independent of scheme from the middle of the defense, and you have corners in Brownlee and Sneed who can press and jam and affect routes at the point of attack, this defense is going to be a little bit more successful than we think it is. Now, those are two gigantic ifs, because one, on the defensive front thing, you're projecting that Jeff Simmons is going to suddenly be a high volume sack guy, which he hasn't been for about 3 or 4 years. You're projecting that T'Vondre Sweat will be able to be a high volume sack guy, which he wasn't as a rookie. And then you're projecting Sneed's healthy enough to play, Brownlee stays healthy, McCreary. Like, that is a lot to ask of 5 players who maybe haven't been A1 players in the way the Titans are trying to set them up. But like, the one word I would use to describe what we saw from Sneed yesterday at practice was playful.
Yep.
Like, unburdened in a way. It just looked like a guy who was kind of happy to be happy to be playing football. What stands out to me is we were talking to Calvin Ridley after practice, and I asked him about what's it like having Sneed back out there, and Ridley just immediately starts rubbing at his jaw. He's like, I can feel it, man. Like, the jams. He's just in my face every play. I can feel it. And I don't know. I think that none of this is proof that Sneed is the guy the Titans traded for. None of this is proof that Sneed will be the player the Titans envisioned in him. Let's remember that even at his best in Kansas City, Sneed wasn't a Pro Bowler. Sneed wasn't an All-Pro. Sneed wasn't even cornerback one on those Chiefs teams.
Right.
He's a really good player who you can project a lot out of. But as you guys have heard me say on this podcast thousands of times, cornerback, most volatile position in the NFL. 1 year success usually does not predict a next year's success. It's hard to be consistent year over year. Can he be the guy he was in 23? Absolutely. Does he profile as the type of corner that Denard Wilson favors? Sure. Is it a good sign that he's out there practicing without a brace on and doesn't look like he's slowed down? For sure. But none of this is predictive of success because he's got to go out and cover Cortland Sutton week 1. And then he's got to go out and cover probably Devontae Adams week 2. And it's going to keep happening.
So this is where I'm going to be positive. This is where I'm going to try to be positive. And because I agree with everything you just laid out. And I'm going to put T'Vondre Sweat into this conversation as well, because you don't draft him where you draft him with those types of physical skills and the college resume that he had to get what you got last year out of him. And meaning it's just a rookie year. It's what you expect.
For sure.
I think he actually, if anything, probably was better than people expected in terms of his consistency and sort of showing up and being healthy and being out there. I think there was a lot of haters on just the size and the shape of the human. And certainly missing time in practice for the tonsils is a problem. But like at the end of the day, he was back on Thursday. I think this team is as healthy as you can kind of ask for at this stage, other than Tajay Spears. Most of the starting lineup is almost all. I'm looking at we'll get to some of the people that are kind of like working their way back or whatever. But if you want to paint the perfect picture and be a total optimist, it is about T'Vondre Sweat and Jeff Simmons being completely dominant on the defensive line, taking away any semblance of a rushing attack from the other team. And yes, that does create a situation where they're just going to throw the ball 55 times and you may not be able to pressure them. I get that. But at the end of the day, the two of them with Sebastian Joseph Day, Draymond Jones, like you will not run on that group if Sweat and Simmons are in the game most of the time. And then L'Jarius Sneed is healthy. And I'm going to throw one more in there. I think this safety group could be really good this year.
I agree.
And I think there's still ifs involved in all of this. But if Quandre Diggs is going to be a starter potentially, because that's what I think is going to be interesting here is where and how do they use Diggs, who is much more of a high point safety. But they have guys like Winston and Hooker that can play on the field with Woods and Diggs, and they can be very versatile and creative on the back end with their 4 safeties. And Winston also back healthy and practicing and looked good on Thursday. So my point is, if you want to be the optimist here, and I'm not saying this is what I'm predicting, but if you have an absolutely dominant defensive front against the run mostly, but at tackle in particular, where you just hold the point of attack almost all the time, you have a healthy L'Jarius Sneed pushing all the corners down, and you have Diggs, Winston, Hooker, and Woods rotating in some form or fashion as a 3 safety look, a nickel back, a second linebacker, a dime package, whatever it might be. That is sort of what the recipe looks like for this roster at this moment in time to try to find success. And I think that is, if you're trying to be as optimistic as possible, that is where you can allow yourself to go, you know what? Denard Wilson knows what he's doing. You've got an elite defensive line, some lockdown corners, and some creative safeties. Let's go have fun. Let's go have fun and see how it works. I think that is where you could be optimistic about the team. I still think there's a long way to go for anything close to a playoff race or battle in the AFC South. But at the end of the day, you can see it. You can see it.
Yeah, this is not reporting. This is reading tea leaves. This is projecting. But just in case anybody is curious and wants to take a trip down 2 years ago memory lane, the Titans got a 5th and a 6th for trading Kevin Byard mid-season with 1 year left on his contract. With this glut in the safety room, if this is a team that likes to acquire draft picks to continue building for the future, that's where you would start looking, is either Amani Hooker or Quandre Diggs. Yeah. Or theoretically McCreary, any of those guys left on a 1 year deal. If you can get 2 day 2 draft picks, or maybe just stockpile that together for like a 3 or a 4, Hooker, Diggs, McCreary, one of those guys you would imagine on a 1 year deal could get you something. So that's That's what I will add, is that if this works, you have a lot of depth at one position. And if this doesn't work, you have pieces that you can theoretically break off to get more assets.
So I think PK's been big on this, and I think you have as well. If the 11th best player on your defense is your number 2 inside linebacker, that's kind of okay. That's kind of what you want. That's what you want, and that does feel like the case. And so the number of times that you have McCreary and 3 safeties on the field, or like in like kind of a heavy dime package, that could help with that problem.
Sure,
and they've got the personnel to do it.
Yeah, the issue with this Titans defense is not going to be in the back end unless there's an injury. If there's an injury at cornerback, tear it all up.
Yeah. Well, all this is if
projecting these guys are healthy, the issue's not going to be in the back end. The issue is still this defense is built on the principle that your defensive tackles are strong enough that both of your edge defenders are going to take one-on-one blocks. And I am not convinced that any edge defender on this team will consistently be able to win one-on-one matchups. If you have 3 to block 2 in the middle, or if you have 4 to block 3 in the middle, counting Joseph Day, you're isolating your edge rushers. And this is not a team with one edge rusher who I trust to win those isolated matchups. If they get that one guy and keep the rest of this core together, I think this is a future top 10 defense.
So they should have traded for Micah Parsons, is what you're saying.
Well, then they would have lost Jeffrey Simmons, and it would have not worked the same way because the double teams wouldn't have been
it's
the same way.
You give up Sebastian Joseph Day is what you do.
Okay.
Because obviously they would have taken that. No, I mean, if anything, that's the thing you should learn from the Micah Parsons thing is that, while we value wide receivers at a higher price point than ever before, corners at a higher price point than ever before, everything is predicated on the person holding the football, right? The highest paid person is the person holding the football. And then everybody off of that, everyone else that affects the passing game. He who attacks the quarterback, he who protects the quarterback, he who catches the pass, and he who defends the pass are all the ones making the most money. But as we learned yesterday, the thing that is still the most valuable outside of the quarterback is the person who can most quickly neutralize the quarterback, which is the person closest to the quarterback, which is the pass rusher trying to go get him. So we'll see. Look, we know they're going to target a pass rusher in the top half of the draft, probably. There's a lot of really good options, and I'll give you some of those names to watch a little bit later on because they're all going to be on display this weekend against really good teams. So we'll give you a chance to look at those names. We'll tell you about those names, pass rushers you guys need to know in college football coming up as well. So L'Jarius Sneed back healthy, creative on the back end. This is the area of optimism. And if the Titans defense is fixed and they're going to win and they're going to win more games, I think it's in large part because of the defensive line combo with L'Jarius Sneed healthy and a creative set of safeties. So there you go. As healthy as this team can be. So Ridley out there practicing yesterday he seemed to be doing just fine. Tajay Spears was seen walking, but we know that he's still a little ways away. Khalil Mullings didn't practice, but he seemed to be in good spirits. JC Latham didn't practice in pads, but he was out there with the team a lot, kind of being engaged and involved. Yeah. Cushenberry looks like he's kind of, I don't want to say like full go, but he's out there doing everything basically. Yeah. Let's see who else. We mentioned Sneed and Winston both back and healthy. T'Vondre Sweat back and healthy and practicing too. So from your perspective, outside of Spears, I can't think of am I just forgetting brain farting here on like any member of the top 22 or 30 that's not able to play against Denver? It seems like this is as healthy as you could possibly be going into week 1.
Yeah, this is the one thing coaching wise on the field that I think I can isolate as a Callahan versus Vrabel difference, if you want to get into the big aggregate of people talking about past era, new era, all that stuff. There is a concerted effort in training camp to, when somebody feels a twinge, sit them down. So there were a lot of preventative measures taken. Whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing totally depends on how much you think guys need to be practicing, guys need to be taking the reps, guys need to be enduring themselves for the long haul of the season versus guys need to be available for week 1. I don't know which strategy is better. I am not sitting here commenting on which strategy is better, but I think you can tell Kevin Winston got sat down for a reason. And Calvin Ridley got sat down for a reason. And these guys who are expected to contribute, they took the long game with them. They took the long game with Cushenberry. They took the long game with Sneed. Is this going to pay off?
Really long game.
Really long game with Sneed. Is this going to pay off? We'll see. I mean, health doesn't necessarily win you games in the NFL. Talent and scheme and luck wins you games in the NFL, but health is up there. Like, you need to have your best players out there. So yeah, I think that being healthy for week one, definitely a plus. Does a fully healthy Titans team still match up that well against the Denver Broncos? Probably not, but
No.
but it is still good to have your best guys out there.
Yeah. I don't know how to say your name there. Poipole? Were the new guys out there? Yes. All those new guys were out there. Shy Tuttle, Jalen Armour Davis, Sam Webb, Clay Webb, Sam Womack, and CJ Ravenel. Am I missing anybody?
Dorian Mayossi.
Was he out there?
I believe he was, but I
think he was too. I mean, honestly, at the start of practice, we didn't see Latham, but he immediately kind of came out. He and Mullings weren't out there, but then they came out for individual drills and team drills, and they looked perfectly fine. Honestly, and Spears was seen. So, honestly, everybody was there. It's kind of remarkable. So, and you kind of laid out there what's going on. What do you make of that's a perfect segue into the new guys here. What do you make of the churn? They keep Horn, Gabe Jeudy-Lally, Jacobs, and Ojukwu, and then immediately move them to go get guys that came off the wire. They signed Shy Tuttle. That's sort of a more of a signing there. I don't really need to get into the practice squad. Prochet, Simeon Watkins, Odukoyo in the international slot, Restrepo, Kinsey, Jefferson, Mims. Levin actually, which is to me, that's the big one that says, oh, we're fine with Lloyd Cushenberry, and maybe a Hance Jackson Slater combination, because they cut Levin and then re-signed him to the practice squad. So what do you make of the churn at the bottom? Does it tell you anything about where this team is right now?
I mean, it tells me that what we've seen all camp has been validated, and the back end depth of this defense needed work. It does not surprise me that Shy Tuttle was somebody they coveted, because there was not a true backup for Tavondre Sweat on this team.
They love the Tennessee Volunteers. So
sure, of course, you got to respect the Vols.
Yeah.
There wasn't a true nose tackle backup. I guess Isaiah Rakes probably would have been the guy. Timmy Horn could have been the guy. But going out and getting a guy who started at nose in the NFL to spell Sweat when he needs it, that's good insurance. I'm not surprised that they like Womack. That's a ball hawking DB who tends to like to go for the football, which is the aggressive side of it. And then Jalen Armour Davis, that's a high upside, high potential, big, rangy, long corner. That doesn't surprise me. The linebacker
got beat a couple times in red zone drills. He, by the way, I think was with Denard Wilson in Baltimore. So also
he was.
Yeah. Wilson has some familiarity there.
Yeah, and the linebacker was the surprising one for me. There were plenty of linebackers with NFL experience. There were plenty of linebackers available with NFL special teams experience. If you were purely looking for a plug and play special teams player, I don't quite understand what was so alluring about this specific undrafted rookie that they needed to make sure he's on the active roster for the first 4 weeks of the season. I think that there is, I'm not saying it should have been this guy, but I just saw his name on waivers and I'm familiar with him. So I was thinking about somebody like Mark Robinson, who had been a special teams linebacker in Pittsburgh for the last 3 years, who has done this. And he's on waivers.
Guys. I like Pittsburgh special teams players.
Yeah. You could have just gone out and gotten a guy who has 3 years of making tackles on special teams to be your special teams linebacker, but you go get a young projectable player. And I think that's kind of an indicator of what the Titans value right now, what the Titans are looking for right now. Also, if I remember right, Mark Robinson, high school friend of Otis Reese's. So that might have not fit.
Awkward.
But yeah, I think that, that was the one that kind of surprised me. The Titans played against him 5 days ago, and I don't think any of us remember him flashing. So that one surprised me, but the others all kind of track.
Yeah. We'll get into this a little bit later on, but Ray School says if one of the top 2-3 edges in next year's draft, then Jeremiah Smith in 27, and the Titans will have a playoff roster. It's not just Jeremiah Smith. You got the wide receiver class in 27 at the top is elite. Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams at Alabama. You got Wingo at Texas, two of those guys are going to be on display in the Texas-Ohio State game. You have 2 potential players for Clemson, not the guy going this year, but the other guys, Wesco and Williams, I think. There's 3 receivers for the Tigers that are going to be first-round picks.
But
two of them are 27, so we'll save a lot of that.
Let's say this much. If the Titans are in position to draft Jeremiah Smith,
Yeah, that's not good.
Cam Ward stinks.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want that.
You
don't want that. You don't want year 2 to have the number 1 pick in the draft.
No, but here's the thing. You could probably get the number 1 pass rusher this year, maybe more like in the 4 to 8 range potentially.
Sure.
And there's a handful of those guys that are kind of again, this is all right now before the season starts, like projected to be sort of like late top 10 picks, early teens. There's a lot of receivers that I think you can get in that same range from like 8 to 15 in the first round the following year. Yes, but you're right. I think Jeremiah Smith doesn't go past like the top 2 or 3 picks in that particular draft. You have to answer this one for me. Sus, where does Heidel Gardner rank on your cast member list?
Somewhere off the top of my head between 35th and 40th all time.
Okay.
Second best, maybe second best cast member of this era, which is one of the weaker eras in the show's history. Heidi.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, 35 to 40. Happy to see her go. 8 years was a good run.
Yeah. Let's see here. If we're taking Jeremiah Smith, we're taking Manning. Yeah, that's basically correct. To your point. Trade up in 27. There you go. Look, we're already into the 27 draft stuff. And check out paulkarski.com. I'll be doing some draft stuff for him throughout the course of the college football season. So make sure you check that out. Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Willie's Barbecue, our 2 great local amazing sponsors. Sign up for the in crowd. And this weekend, Labor Day. Happy Labor Day, everybody. Lots of football to be watched. You're going to have some parties. You're going to have some watch parties. You're going to do lots of fun things. You're going to have drinks and beverages at those fun things. Have it delivered right to you, because that is the responsible and smart thing to do. So search Uber Eats, Sinkers Beverages, and have the booze delivered directly to your house. I'm working on a project that I can't fully divulge just yet, Nick.
Sure.
But I did a long interview with like a doctoral professor of like East Asian studies and like philosophy and the intersection of like culture and science.
Mm-hmm.
And basically he told me we should be teaching our kids to drink wine at an earlier age for like actual health scientific reasons, like very Southern European style, like Italian and French and Spanish style. So but that's from a professor, not from me. Nick,
I get it. A couple of weeks ago, you do your interviews with wine scientists. I did an interview for about 30, 40 minutes the other day with a hope scientist. I'm just like, why do human beings do this to ourselves? Why do we hope?
Oh, well, that's a football thing, though. Like that was for football, right?
It was football related, yeah.
But we do have a bizarre collection of outside sports interests, you and I.
Yeah.
we do. No, I don't have a 4-year-old Eddie. She's 7, and she has tasted beer. Just saying. Sometimes you just put it down and they just grab it. You can't do anything about that.
When did you have your first drink?
Like an actual beer, like a full beer?
Yeah.
It would have been after football season was over, senior year of high school.
All right, round him up, guys. We got him. He admitted it. Round him up. Arrest him.
I think statute of limitations is 35 years.
Mine was on my 21st birthday, and that's not
loser.
a bit.
What
not
a loser.
bit. I literally waited till my 21st birthday.
This research brought to you by Big Alcohol. No, actually, it's funny because the scientist on this, the relatively new science of distillation is the problem. That's the problem on alcohol. It's not the wine and the beer. It's the liquor, but obviously. So there you go. Okay. Look, I'm telling you, like the theories around alcohol I have stumbled on and am working on is fantastic. It's wonderful. We do not have a civilization without alcohol. That's the theory. It's fantastic. Bread before beer, not a thing. Not real. Not a thing that happens. So anyway, these are just teases for what's coming up. Okay. Quickly here. I want to reiterate this, and then we'll move on to some college football to wrap up the show. I just want to reiterate this. Don't expect too many 7-step drops from Cam Ward this year. I think the offensive line could be fixed to some degree. I think it could be an average offensive line, which is better than it's been in a long time. I think if they're all healthy and Cushenberry's healthy, I think the interior of the offensive line in particular will be very good, and they will run the football with Pollard between the tackles for sure. But I would guess a vast majority of Cam Ward's throws, especially against Denver, where they are going to get after the quarterback, it is going to be rapid fire, quick, short passing game. Be satisfied with the mundane. Lots of screens and bubbles and hitches and outs. Just be prepared for that, and it's okay to allow Cam to build and grow into the player he's going to be. But every time I watch them actually go quickly, they're not pushing the ball down the field at all, which is okay. I think I'm not saying this isn't common sense, but I just want to reiterate it. that folks need to be prepared for a lot of quick, short passes.
It is not easier to be explosive by throwing short than it is by throwing long. But it is more effective and more efficient to try being explosive that way. Like, think about it. If you throw a 7-yard pass for the hope that it can break for 30, if you catch the ball, you still get 7 yards and you're still efficiently moving forward.
It's risk reward.
If you throw a 40-yard pass for the hope of getting 40, it's probably going to be incomplete. The best quarterbacks are probably 40% accuracy, 50% accuracy on deep shots.
I would go low. I would go lower than that, but there are some stats on that we could look up.
Yeah. The best quarterbacks are probably a little bit less than 50% on their deep shots. The best quarterbacks are 70, 80% on their slants and hitches. So if you can start building and if you can start finding the types of players who can turn 5-yard hitches and 7-yard slants and 6-yard outs into explosive plays after the catch, that is a much more efficient way to be an explosive offense than by throwing the ball 40 yards at a time. Now, here's the part that I'm disagreeing with. Throwing the ball 40 yards at a time, cool. Very cool. Much cooler. We should support cool things.
Fun and cool.
Fun and cool. I like fun and cool. So I would love to see the ball go wee through the air, and then the fast guy catch it and run for a touchdown.
Like the last little piggy.
Yeah. I would love to see the football do that because it is better when the football does that. But it's kind of like how the Moneyball approach to baseball is it's better to walk a bunch of times and just try and swing for home runs and not play the fun kind of baseball. It's better to not play the fun kind of football if you're trying to be efficient.
Coach Will says, guys, I don't know if this is a statement is positive or negative, but I'm okay with being efficient, especially with all the too high defenses.
Yeah, no.
Agreed.
Yeah, if you can be efficient, if you look at the way that Kansas City and Cincinnati in particular have adjusted to the too high defense with these two gigantic armed quarterbacks who love throwing deep, and then just say, okay, we'll check down. We'll just keep checking down. We'll just keep checking down. We'll just keep checking down.
Death by 1,000 cuts. You can win games that way.
You can win games.
Yeah. Drew Brees. Drew Brees did it. Although extremely accurate down the field, so I shouldn't use Drew Brees. But we got baseball slander in the chat. Okay. All right. So yes, having a competent GM feels good. There you go. A little early to make all of these grandiose statements since they have yet to play a game. But I realize we're being overly positive apparently on the show today. So look, I just think they're healthy. I think the offense looks like it's more complete than I've seen it in years. I don't think it's good necessarily, but I don't think there's like a glaring weak spot like we've seen in the past. And I think the defense has some pieces that if they work will go together nicely, which means there was a plan and they have executed it, which is refreshing. So there's that. All right, Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Boys Barbecue, of course. Let's start with the draft stuff because that ties into the Titans here, and then we'll get to SEC stuff. So I was looking at I'm doing some stuff, like I'm already doing my rankings, right? I'm already putting together my big boards here. So TJ Parker is probably your number one pass rusher right now on big boards. For Clemson, he's going to go up against the rebuilt LSU offensive line. Peter Woods is the other guy who might be the number one pick in the entire draft, potentially non-quarterback probably. So those two guys on Clemson's defensive line are going up against Garrett Nussmeier, who is a first-round pick, probably a top 10 pick. That's a great matchup. Don't need to explain that one, LSU and Clemson. The two one of them's tonight I want you to keep an eye on, and that is Keldrick Falk at Auburn. Really big, really rangy, not as productive yet, but that's a guy who's a defensive end, could be a projected top half of the first-round pick, top 15 pick going up against Baylor tonight. That is a really important football game for both teams. And you also have another first-round 2027 wide receiver in Cam Coleman, who is for Auburn, who also is up there with the Ryan Williams and the Jeremiah Smiths. Like the receiver class in 27 is sick. Yeah. So it is that I think broadly the strategy for the Titans should be edge first round, receiver first round, the next two. Corner is going to be in this conversation for sure. But I think those are, if you're looking at depth at the positions and where the team's going to be picking possibly, I do think that's the way you look at it. Ruben Bain for Miami missed 5 games last year. He is going up against a Notre Dame offensive line on Sunday night. That is maybe the best offensive line in the country. 2 tackles. Keep an eye on for Notre Dame that could be drafted by day 1 or day 2. So top 100 players. Keep an eye on that matchup line of scrimmage when Notre Dame has the football on Sunday night. Ruben Bain is the guy that he doesn't have the length necessarily of like the true like elite pass rusher, but he's very productive. He's a bull in the china shop, and he's also a guy who's sort of in that like top 15 pick kind of conversation right now for next year. So you got 3 pass rushers, maybe the top 3, that are all going to be on display against high-level competition this weekend against good players. That's the best time to watch these guys. And it happens to be in like 3 of the best games you're going to watch. So there you go.
And if you want to throw one in there, I can speak as a guy who was definitely more plugged into college football 2 years ago than he is now. LSU's still got a dude. We don't want to forget that Harold Perkins was supposed to be the number 1 pick in last year's draft as of 2 years ago. Let's see how good he can be. Let's see how good he can be.
I agree. I think he's a little undersized. He's very explosive, super versatile. I don't know if he's going to be a pass rusher or an off-ball linebacker. I really don't know. Same thing with Deontay Lawson for Alabama. Keep an eye on him, as well as LT Overton is the pass rusher for Alabama. They're going to play Florida State with a kind of their own window on Saturday. So keep an eye on the Alabama front 7. They're going to go up against a quarterback in Thomas Castellanos for Florida State that is very athletic. They're going to get him outside so you can see how those guys function in space. That'll be good to see. Penn State, Oregon, Texas Tech, they all have some good pass rushers. They're not playing anybody this weekend, so just you don't need to worry about them. Let's see here. Texas and Ohio State. This is an NFL scouting dream. 2 5-star quarterbacks, but really the name to watch is Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles, the 2 defensive leaders for Ohio State. I think they're going to go full Charles Woodson with Caleb Downs. I think they're going to give him snaps on offense in the red zone. He's going to score on special teams as one of the best punt returners in America, and he's one of the most dynamic and versatile safety prospects that we have seen in a long, long time. Unfortunately, I've seen some mocks with him to the Titans, and after our conversation we just had, unless you're trading 2 of them, I don't know if he's the right pick for them. But man, you tell me Kevin Winston and Caleb Downs are going to be patrolling the back end for the Titans defense for a while, and that feels pretty good.
I get it. Look, if Malachi Starks was like the 30th pick in the draft, we're not picking Caleb Downs top 5 NFL guys.
No,
like,
I agree.
The value of that position is just going to drive it down. I'm not saying Starks is the same kind of prospect Downs is. I think Starks is probably maybe a half rung below Downs. But still, if you're a guy who almost fell into the 2nd round with that talent, I don't see a world where Caleb Downs goes top 5.
You mentioned I am curious your thoughts on linebacker, because it's not to be a top 15 linebacker pick, you better be elite.
Yeah.
And Anthony Hill at Texas and Sonny Styles at Ohio State in the same game. And then you mentioned Perkins. All those guys are very, very high quality players that would upgrade the position next to Cody Barton. I just think like you have to be Fred Warner to be drafted in the top 15, and Fred Warner wasn't drafted in the top 15. Yeah. So I do think keep an eye on those guys, though, because Hill gets after the quarterback. He is a guy that likes to play behind the line of scrimmage. He can pressure. Styles is more of he's a converted safety. So Styles is going to be a guy that's a little bit more kind of your true like inside backer. I do think if you're picking high in the 2nd round, that I don't think inside linebacker, if you can get one of the best ones, it's not a crazy idea for Titans fans to consider. And there's some good ones on display this weekend for sure.
I'll say this. Previously on a football show, and by previously I mean about 30 minutes ago, we mentioned that there are 5 positions that matter in the NFL. If you are not a team that is feasibly good enough to play for a conference championship right now, or maybe in the divisional round, if you're not one of the 8 best teams in the NFL, you got to pick one of those 5 positions in the 1st round.
Probably.
Just no disrespect. Like maybe sometimes you can get a running back if that guy is that much of a difference maker. But safety, off-ball linebacker, guard, defensive tackle, even these are positions that I kind of leave alone until the 2nd and 3rd rounds.
Tend to agree. At corner, Avion Terrell, who is it AJ Terrell?
Yeah,
for the Falcons. His little brothers at Clemson could be the number 1 corner in the draft. He's going to be playing, of course, against Garrett Nussmeier. That's a really good matchup to keep an eye on. Malik Muhammad is also a potential 1st-round pick at corner for Texas. He will be in a game that you're going to be watching at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, so keep an eye on that. Otherwise, Jalen Kilgore, South Carolina, they're going to play in a good game on Sunday against Virginia Tech. That's worth keeping an eye on. Jermod McCoy might be the number 1 corner as well, but Tennessee, Syracuse, so you'll probably watch that one. So the top 3 or 4 corners in the draft are all going to be on kind of display this weekend as well, so keep an eye on those guys. I do not love this receiver class that much. I think there's a lot of really interesting players in the 2nd and 3rd round potentially, but Antonio Williams is really kind of the only one to keep an eye on this weekend in a big game, which is the receiver, one of the 3 for Clemson. You're going to get Wesco, and I'm drawing a blank on the other one. Who's the other Clemson receiver? Why am I drawing a blank on that? Oh, TJ Moore. TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco are the other ones. They have 3 potential first-round receivers. How about this? Let me. So this is an easy transition. Sinkers, Beverages, Shotgun Wings Barbecue. If I were to tell you that Clemson has an elite star quarterback, an elite star defensive line, and 3 dominant wide receivers, would I tell you that? Would you tell me that sounds familiar to how Clemson builds national championship contenders?
It would, yeah. No, it sounds very, very, very relatable. Dabo, consistent man. I like the news story. I don't know how much you guys are in the weeds with college football. I hope that you guys are. The story that came out yesterday about Clemson reporting LSU's safety and getting him suspended for the first half of this week 1 game. That's not very Christ-like, Dabo. That is what I want Clemson to be. I love the idea of Clemson being the sanctimonious team that's like, if we play by the rules, everybody's got to play by the rules.
We've been in the business of name, image, and likeness for years. The name, image, and likeness of Jesus Christ.
I love Dabo as the Randall from Recess figure, just kind of like snitching on everybody I don't know that it was Dabo. It probably was somebody in stop. It was definitely Dabo. No, allegedly. You can't say definitely and allegedly together. You got to cover your own ass.
Yeah, it's a podcast.
I just love the idea of this Clemson organization being a superpower that's also kind of a snitch. That should be their profile. That is great. I want to be on the wall, fly on the wall when Dabo goes to the NCAA and goes, they got players that played at other teams last year. Wait a second, guys can transfer now legally? That's allowed? Oh man. I think on paper, Clemson and Penn State are the best 2 teams. The problem is James Franklin coaches Penn State, and I don't know if that is going to be the thing that costs them a chance at the national championship. I would pick Clemson and Texas to play in the national championship game right now. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's completely wide open. My favorite possibility for this college football season is, what if Julian Sayin is really, really good? Like, what if this guy is you're just saying. What if this guy is he will be good. The hype, and he's good now, and just this Ohio State team you guys know that as a guy who's been around the SEC his entire life, there is a part of me that takes a sick joy in the SEC just not being able to keep up with Big Ten money in this era of just like it's just one team. It's just one or 2 teams. Just one or 2 teams that have won the last 2 national championships. That doesn't mean that's the diff. That's it. Go ahead, keep going. All I'm saying, it is my favorite outcome here. Is that we have counted out, and the same can be true of the quarterbacks at Georgia and Alabama, your 3 traditional powerhouses of the last 15 years or so. If Ty Simpson is good, why am I blanking on Vandergriff? Gunnar Stockton. Gunnar Stockton. There have been too many 5-star Georgia quarterbacks. Brock Vandergriff is a human. Yeah, that's true. Gunnar Stockton. You got Dante Moore. Dante Moore's a 5-star at Oregon, Yeah. So. If Stockton's good enough, if Simpson's good enough, if Sayin is good enough, and this is just a year where we're all sitting here like, oh, what if Clemson's back? What if Ohio State? What if Penn State? What if Texas? What if these teams that have been just on the fringe? Just Ohio State, and then we Georgia. Get like an Alabama, Ohio State national championship. That's my favorite outcome. What's really funny, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Texas also has a new 5-star starting quarterback. You may have heard. I don't know. This is crazy. Because you're saying like Clemson is like this new thing, but it's not. It's not. It's not at all. Alabama Clemson is a very real possibility, and that sounds gross to me. Like I would have Clemson at like 2 and Alabama at like 5, but like it sounds gross to pick Alabama and Clemson to play in the national championship game. It just feels gross. And so here's the thing, though: you have elite rosters and teams and coaches at Oregon, at Notre Dame, at Georgia, and at Alabama that are all breaking in new quarterbacks. Texas, I'm not putting Texas in the same boat, but they're close to.
Ohio State. They're all elite programs with elite
Michigan.
rosters, and they're breaking a new quarterback. Frankly, you're right. Michigan, I don't know if elite yet for Sharon Moore in that program, but like they were a bad, awful, no good, bad offense last year.
Yeah, the defense is still elite. The offense needs to figure stuff out.
The defense is spectacular.
Yeah.
But so you have this group of teams that are all in that bucket, and then you have this other group of teams that are really, really good and close often. Kansas State already has a loss, but they would have been in this boat. Utah, I think, is going to be very good. They're close, but they're never there. You look at Penn State, close, but never there. South Carolina, really good, close, but never there. You look at these teams that all have the star guy coming back. LSU's kind of in the weird in-between land because they win championships with Coach O and Les Miles as their coach, so like they should be able to win a championship with Brian Kelly, but they have a quarterback coming back, but they don't have the same roster as maybe some of the other teams. So like LSU's kind of on its own over here, but it's a lot of teams that haven't ever gotten to the top of the mountain or close to it recently in the last like 30 years. South Carolina, Penn State are two of them. And I think it's interesting that we have the dynamics we do in the sport this year, which is the elite powerhouses are breaking in new guys, but they still look pretty good. Yeah. But you have all these other guys that have been trying to compete, and this year look like they should be able to because they've got their star quarterback coming back. So
I'd just like to
we'll see. And then there's Auburn, doing whatever Auburn's doing.
I'd just like to point out the one sentence you said there that could sum up the last 25 years of college football in just one sentence is, and LSU is just on its own over there. Like, that's just the last 25 years. This is one of those LSU years. Okay.
It's kind of like the state of Louisiana also. Yeah. It's just, I say that as a positive because I think it is its own unique, it's its own unique world. Who else gets credit for the whole entire transcontinental alliance?
Yeah.
It's not called the Denver Purchase. It's called the Louisiana Purchase.
No, I have said this. I have no shame in saying this. I lived in Baton Rouge for 2 years. My favorite people on earth are the people of that area of the country. We can talk about systemic stuff all we want, but if we want to talk about people, just fun, cool, good people.
They love the world and life, and they enjoy it, and I appreciate that. There's an energy with Louisiana that my wife and I have always loved. We visited a lot. We've been down there a ton. And by the way, a lot of Katrina docs coming out. I don't know why I don't want to like bring everybody down here.
Today is the 20-year anniversary. Yes.
But yeah, 20th anniversary. And so a lot of documentaries are coming out. And there's a lot of good ones out there. So if you need to relive some of that stuff and train your brain on what's going on back down there. But again, that culture, that the people, Louisiana, New Orleans, the city, Baton Rouge, the swamps, I love all of it. But it is unique.
All right, Braden, I'll give you the rundown here. I'm going to name the conferences first. You give me winner, runner-up of every conference. Give me your picks. We'll start.
Do you want me to be like basic in what I think, or do you want me to have like some fun with it?
No, just however you want to do it. This is your show that I just hijacked.
Let's go. Stickers, beverages, Shotgun Willie's barbecue.
Stickers, beverages, Shotgun Willie's. Let's start in the Big 12.
I had Kansas State and Baylor playing in the championship game. I might have to switch to Iowa State and Kansas State because Iowa State they just walk, talk, and act like an NFL team. They don't have NFL players, but they walk and talk and act like an NFL franchise. I love Matt Campbell. That was a great first win. That is a wide open conference. Arizona State, Utah, Baylor, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Kansas State all could be playing in the conference championship game. I think Kansas State and Iowa State and Baylor might be your best teams, but Utah and Arizona State are right there.
All right, let's do a couple of G5s to make it through whatever the name of the existing Western Conference is, the Pac, Mountain West, all of that together. You got any teams that people should know about in the playoff over there?
Well, Boise State and UNLV are the top two contenders in that league, and Boise State got destroyed last night, and UNLV's defense looks terrible. So there's a good chance that the Mountain West, which, by the way, Dan Mullen's debut, a Dan Mullen defense struggling. Newsflash. What's fascinating is that, like, last night really did change the playoff. And because South Florida beat that ass, South Florida could be already in the driver's seat because they were a top 3 team in the AAC, which I'm assuming you're about to ask me about.
Yeah.
With a bunch of really good teams in that conference. And right now, South Florida has the feather in the cap win already, which is a destruction of Boise.
Yeah. So AAC and MAC, let's do some of these East Coast G5s. Sunbelt, if you want to throw it in there.
I don't know anything about the MAC. Toledo, Ohio, Buffalo, but Buffalo last night to Minnesota. I think Toledo, keep an eye on Toledo pulling an upset on Kentucky this weekend. Keep an eye on that. They're a 9-point underdog in Lexington. Keep an eye on Toledo. Toledo, Ohio, Miami of Ohio, all good teams. The AAC is the most interesting one. Tulane, remember the name John Sumrall. He's the head coach at Tulane. He's going to be an SEC head coach whenever Mark Stoops leaves football. He will be the head coach at Kentucky or Auburn if they fire Hugh Freeze. Just remember the name John Sumrall.
Or LSU.
It's possible. He's a Kentucky grad, so we'll see. Tulane, Memphis, Navy, and now you have to put South Florida in that conversation. Those four we're already kind of going to run that conference, and we're going to see who makes it out at the end. Navy's schedule sets up. Tulane is really, really talented. I think South Florida has the best quarterback in Byron Brown last night on full display. That I think the winner of the AAC has the path and the track to get to the playoff. The question is going to be, does the committee care about their non-conference schedules? Because their non-conference schedules are harder in the AAC than they are in like the MAC or some of these other leagues. Yeah. So keep an eye on that.
Any team that people need to know about in the Sun Belt or the CUSA?
Liberty is probably your overwhelming favorite and could make a run at a playoff spot in CUSA, I think.
I think they're in the Conference USA, yeah.
I think they're the Conference USA. The Sun Belt is just kind of down, relatively speaking. Like App State's kind of down, South Alabama's kind of down. Like it's not as dangerous looking for a playoff standpoint, but that's always really fun at the top of that conference in terms of predictions and stuff.
All right, ACC time.
I have Georgia Tech playing Clemson.
Okay.
I think Georgia Tech is really good. They're going to play tonight against Colorado, so keep an eye on that team. I just love everything about. If you want here, how about this? If you want to, like, I want the Packers or the Titans to hire Buster Faulkner to be their offensive coordinator. Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator just signed a big extension. He's off the Todd Monken tree, former Georgia coordinator at Baltimore now. I think Buster Faulkner is doing things that the NFL is going to do across the board. And so if you want to watch Georgia Tech's offense pre-snap, the motions, the way they run their ops, the way they run the football, like just keep an eye on Georgia Tech's offense. Super, super fun. But I like them to lose to Clemson in the ACC championship game. I'm not buying Miami. Keep an eye on Louisville. I think they could be sneaky, but I think Georgia Tech is my like sort of sleeper upset unranked team that's going to be the most dynamic by the end of the year.
I had Buster Faulkner pegged as Georgia's successor to Todd Monken, and it didn't work out, and he went to one of their biggest rivals, and that
he is so fun to watch. His offenses.
And then for the two big conferences that end up mattering the most, I'm just going to run by team. I've got the lists up. Give me a thumb up or a thumb down based on how you feel about them this year.
Just
Illinois,
like positive vibes. You're saying
positive vibes, negative vibes. Illinois,
really like Illinois. Easy schedule. Lots of the most returning starters of anybody in the conference. Keep an eye on Illinois.
Indiana,
step back. But I love the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, potential first-round pick, Cal transfer. Love Cignetti, the coach.
Iowa. Maryland.
Iowa is Iowa. Great on defense. They do have a transfer quarterback, Gronowski, that could actually make their offense worth watching. So they'll be Iowa. They'll be 8-4 and tough to beat.
Maryland.
One of the worst teams in the Big Ten.
Michigan.
Potential playoff team if Bryce Underwood gets it together fast. Their defense is elite. And if he's good, watch out for Michigan.
Michigan State.
Love the coach. Jonathan Smith. Love the coach. Love Aiden Childs, the quarterback. It's a slow build. They sort of do things the right way. Keep an eye on Michigan State to pull a couple upsets. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to compete for anything, though.
Minnesota.
I kind of like that team. They did not show it last night.
Nebraska.
I kind of like that team. They did not show it last night. Although Brendan Sorsby at Cincinnati, hats off to him. He played a great game. They made plays when they had to on defense, Nebraska. I think that's a dangerous team this year. But Dylan Raiola did not look like he took a major step forward, and that's concerning. So
Northwestern.
Nope. Next.
Ohio State.
Top 5 team, if all goes well, if they answer all the questions. They and Georgia are basically identical, except for Ohio State has more high-end, already established star talent. So that I would not want to play Ohio State if they were in the playoff as like an 8 seed.
Oregon.
I think Oregon can miss the playoff, but not necessarily because they're bad. I think their schedule is much tougher, and they're replacing a lot of pieces like at key spots at quarterback. I think Oregon's really salty. They're the team that's in the top 10 that I wouldn't be surprised if they're like 9-3 and just missed the playoff, like Alabama kind of did last year.
We know your opinion on Penn State, but quick.
Elite team, great players, great coaching staff. Outside of will James Franklin screw up something in the final 2 minutes of a game, they got to win a big game and prove it before I give it to them. But I have them in the top 3.
One word on Purdue.
Okay.
Rutgers.
Rutgers is better than people think. Greg Schiano's a pretty good coach, but they're taking a slight step back this year.
We are legally prohibited from talking about UCLA, so we'll move on to USC.
Jaden Maivia is a really interesting quarterback. They have to bounce back on offense, so I expect them to be much, much better. They have 2 NFL receivers. Keep an eye on that offense. It's going to be fun. Lincoln Riley. They're kind of a sneaky take the over kind of bet this year.
UW?
I don't know what they are anymore. That's a team I grew up with. My father loves them, but I don't know what their philosophy and identity is. I think they're going back to being a little bit more scrawny this year, which is big old fat white guys running the football. So we'll see what happens. I think they're an average team, but their schedule, holy shit. It is bad. It is bad, tough. It is so hard. They're going to lose games.
And then UW, but purple.
I love the quarterback. Damon Williams, keep an eye on him. Really, really fascinating player. Washington is a sneaky sleeper pick this year. Keep an eye on Washington.
All right, now we're moving over to the big boys down south, starting with Alabama.
Right. They could be better at every position. You know how crazy that is to say for Alabama? A team that almost made the playoff last year? They could be better at almost every position. Almost all of it hinges on Ty Simpson, but I think they could be better across the board. I really like the Alabama team.
Hogs.
They are not bought into Sam Pittman as an organization, as a fan base. And so even if you like Taylor Green and they are better in certain places, which I don't think they are, I think the entire thing is they're out on Pittman, and so they're not going to invest to win until they make a change at coach. So, bummer.
Auburn.
I really like this team, and that's stupid. They are really good on the offensive line, really good on the defensive line, have NFL receivers, and Hugh Freeze is a decent coach. If they win tonight against Baylor, watch out. The schedule's very easy. Keep an eye on Auburn.
Swamp guys.
Schedule's really hard. Injury to the quarterback is concerning with DJ Lagway. How healthy is he? We don't know. If he's fully healthy, they are really good along both lines of scrimmage, and they were really good on defense to end the year. They are a playoff caliber football team, but they've got to go prove it.
Georgia.
We don't know what the names are that are going to answer all the questions that we have, but we're going to learn them pretty fast, I bet. And so I think Georgia's like 10-2, and they make the playoff, and nobody wants to play them.
Kentucky.
If Mark Stoops did not have a $30 million buyout, this would be the last year in Lexington, but he has a massive buyout. I think they could bottom out. I think they could bottom out and be maybe the worst team in the league. Brutal.
The State University of Louisiana.
I am not sure what to make of them. They have, as usual, they're just off on their own. They have the ability and the quarterback and the coaching staff and the talent and the depth to win the SEC, to compete for a national championship. They also have a tough schedule. I could see them missing the playoff at 9-3, but the floor is pretty high for LSU. I think they're a top 10 team.
Klanga.
What?
Mississippi State.
They have to be better. They were one of the worst defenses in the history of the league, so they'll be better because they brought in like 50 portal guys. If they're healthy on offense, they'll be better on offense. I still think they're one of the worst 3 teams in the league.
Missouri.
Missouri will have a good record. I don't know if they'll be a great team. Bo Prabula played very well last night. They looked good. 61 points is always good, even against air. But they might have like a really nice record, like an 8-win season, but I think it's because they don't play a lot of big boys in the SEC.
Boomer.
Kind of the opposite. Like they play such a hard schedule. They might be better than Missouri and be like 2 games worse because they play such a hard schedule. John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, super fun to watch. The coordinator and the coach. They're doing the Vandy thing where you hire the coordinator and the coach at the same time. The coordinator and the quarterback at the same time. John Mateer, take a look at him. He's really fun. They'll be healthier. Big games. Huge games for Oklahoma all the time. Like just huge games.
Ole Miss.
What do you think of Ole Miss? I don't know what to make of it. I think they have to take a step back from last year, but Austin Simmons could be really, really good. They've got some really good pieces. they put a lot of players in the NFL at like almost every position. And so I just don't know if they can replicate that. But they're a top 25 team.
Yeah, they're a classic Ewing theory candidate of the team's worse, but does that make the team better? We'll see.
Yeah.
South Carolina.
I really want to buy into this being a playoff team. I love Lenore Sellers, Dylan Stewart. They have maybe the best pass rusher and quarterback in the league, maybe. And you start with that, that's a pretty good start. They have an easy schedule in the first half, and they always get better in November. And so it all sets up for South Carolina to do this. There's one small problem, though, Nick. They have never done it, ever, in 100 years. And so I don't know. This could be the time where they go 10-2 and make the playoff. But Sellers is super fun to watch either way. So is Dylan Stewart. If you are a Titans fan, and if you're in the Jeremiah Smith running 2 years from now in the draft, you're going to be in the Dylan Stewart running as well. He could be the first pick in the draft 2 years from now.
Let's talk about the Vols.
High floor. Offense is really always going to give you 30, 35, 40 points. Defense is taking major strides schematically. The schedule is easy, so I don't think they bottom out. But I don't see the talent and the experience on this roster to be great. I just don't see it. I think they're more of an 8-win team. And if Joey Aguilar's not good, then maybe a 7-win team. But that seems crazy because there's just not a lot of hard games on the schedule. But if you lose to teams like Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, you could be 7-5.
Let's move on to Texas.
Best play caller, best system, best offense, maybe the best quarterback, maybe the most talented roster. And the schedule is not like overly insane. It's hard to pick against Texas to not be at least 10-2, 11-1 at some point at the end of the year.
What are the Aggies?
Really, I think building to something special. This might be building block 2, where 3 is competing for a championship next year. But Marcel Reed, Nashville native, going to play quarterback for them, full season starting, most returning starters of anybody in the league, one of the best offensive lines in America. I think Texas A&M could be really, really dangerous this year. So I like A&M. I like A&M with South Carolina and Florida as like competing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, what I was about to say is A&M now is where South Carolina was last year. Weird comparison point. And then bring us home with the hometown kids, Vanderbilt.
You only have to ask yourself one thing, Nick. You have to ask yourself, why not? Why not the Doors? Why not Diego Pavia? Why not Clark Lee? You can't give me a reason why not. Anchor down till I'm 6 feet in the ground. Anchor down till I die. Let's go, Commodores.
So 5-7?
It's a tough schedule, but they should be 7. They should be bowling, and 7 wins is not crazy. I really do think that both seasons. This is what I love about college football. You can kind of see these things coming sometimes every now and then. I think Tennessee and Vanderbilt's season, as defined as a success or failure, will happen in the game against each other at the end of the year. Like if Vanderbilt wins that game in Knoxville, they will consider their season a huge success. If Tennessee wins and loses that game, they will consider their season a failure. And I think I love that when I see two rivals. You can see it.
We'll end on this. My favorite way to describe what a college football rivalry is there's two kinds of rivals. Some people think their biggest rival is the team you want to beat the most. Some people think their biggest rival is the team you are most terrified to lose to. Tennessee Vandy is a rivalry specifically because these people cannot agree on that. It's not like Tennessee wants to beat Vandy the most. That's Alabama. But you can't lose to Vandy. You just can't.
They hate Florida. We hate Florida too. I grew up hating Florida. I didn't grow up hating Alabama.
That's the 90s. In the same way that Tennessee, Georgia is a rivalry if you grew up in the 90s.
If you hear the SEC CBS theme song, what's the first game that comes into your head?
Just because where I grew up, Georgia, Florida.
Okay. So that is the indicator of your age. So when I hear that theme song, I think of Florida, Tennessee. Okay. And I did not grow up loving Florida or Tennessee. Like I grew up outside of Tennessee until like 90. I got here in 97. So, but I don't think Alabama at all when I think of that song.
Yeah. I'm imagining Urban Meyer and Mark Richt.
Right.
Just getting mad at each other.
All right. Here we go. Sinkers Beverages. Urban Meyer's been mad all the time. Sinkers Beverages, Shotgun Willie's Barbecue. Thank you guys for sticking with us on a Friday here. We do appreciate it. Tennessean.com. Make sure you check out Tennessean.com for all their great work over there. All their great work.
Yeah, please keep an eye out next week. All the stuff I've been working on when I've been polling you guys, when I've been talking to you guys one-on-one, when I've been talking to executives on the Titans about vision, about plan, about hope, all of that should be coming out Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll talk about it a bunch next week as we preview the season. But please keep an eye on it. Please share it around. And please also, if anyone has a login for me to watch college football this weekend, send it to my email. I'll take it.
What?
I
You don't have a
pay for stuff.
login?
I
All
don't
right.
pay for stuff.
All right. Well, you know what you can do, and this is a last moment shout here. We're having SEC Wing Wars at ML Rose all across the city this year in the fall. We're a part of it at 440. I know we're Shotgun Willie's barbecue joint here, but if you want to go on Saturdays and watch college football, they got beer specials and they've got wing specials, and we're keeping track like Rocco's Jello shots kind of deal. We're keeping track of the wings at ML Rose, so free shout, but it's not quite free. Shotgun Willie's barbecue. For brisket, of course, all weekend long, you got Seeker's Beverages for all your beverage needs. And remember, scientists have told you to drink more beer. For Nick, I am Braden. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great Labor Day, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.